Spotlight double bill.
That sounds great, man. I'm telling you, I'm up for that.
Well, folks, tonight we've got one vendor and we've got one show to spotlight. I think we just need to get right into it, Dave, because we're running out of time for the national convention.
I know. We got some packing to do, buddy.
Well, Dave, we got an unusual vendor spotlight this time. Normally, we're dealing with folks who have a retail customer-facing business, but tonight we've got Mr. Adam Coleman, our favorite Aussie from Texas, with us, who is the current U.S. representative for Liang. Adam, how you doing tonight?
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for the invite.
Good evening, Adam. And isn't Aussie from Texas kind of redundant? Because Aussies are the Texas of the Commonwealth?
People ask me if I'm from the Deep South, and I guess I am.
There you go.
Well, Adam, you've been a long-time listener and supporter of the show, and when you handed this nugget that you'd become the U.S. representative for Liang, we want to get you on, give you a chance to promote what you got going on, and see if we can support you in one way. So won't you let us know how that came about and what Liang is and what you do?
Absolutely. Well, from my standpoint, I'm a pretty entrepreneurial guy. I've got lots of little things going on, but I've been a modeler for all my life, right? And I've also done a lot of travel in my life. Long story short, I was in Hong Kong and in one of the many, many stores that they have there where it's impossible to get past the front counter without, seeing a stack of models to the ceiling. I picked up several airbrush stencils. This was back in 2019. And I thought, these look interesting. And I thought, okay, well, this is a high cool factor. I've got to have these. And so I used them. This was 2019 through about 2022. I used them and of course they're not made to last forever, but they can, if you take care of them, they will last a long time. And I eventually just wore mine out. And I thought, okay, well, that's fine. I'll find, still had the original wrappers. I thought I'm going to go online, find out where to locate these. And I can't find anywhere. I'm up with all the same retail sites and online people as everyone else and all the listeners are, I'm sure. Couldn't find it anywhere. And I thought, all right, so I emailed their website. And I think that was in July. And never got a reply until November. And I got a reply and they said, oh, it's not available. We don't have anybody in the US. And I said, well, that's easy. I've got my own couple of LLCs. I'll take care of it. I know the industry. I know who the players are. I'm pretty outgoing, if you can't tell. And I'll get it up and going. But I want sole distributorship for North America. And we had a couple of, if you don't ask, you don't get, right? So we had a couple of Skype calls, which were really fun. That the one person on their side speaks some English fairly well. We know each other, and I don't speak any Mandarin, of course. And we but we both knew when we were understanding each other and when maybe there was still some clarity. So what happened was in Europe, Mick Jimenez, that we all know, he's the distributor for Europe for the products. And I ended up with the distributorship for North America. So that was in late 2022 when we got that going. And really the process has been to educate and find retailers and find online retailers as well that will carry the product and obviously just grow it and look for, year-over-year growth in terms of volume, but also bringing new products to market all the time.
Now, have you ever before been involved with the model/hobby business? Other than as a modeler?
Yes.
Is this your first foray into the business side of the hobby?
Yeah. I'm pretty adaptable, I guess. And
That's
I've
a pretty
got
big
other
leap.
business interests that I have, which have similar types of cycles and volumes to them. And one of those is related to sporting goods. Another one is related to some government liaison work. And plus I have my own regular full-time job anyway. So these are all just things that I like to do. And what best way to have your occupation sort of parallel your hobby, right? I thought, okay, I can do that. Absolutely.
Now, is Liang purely a manufacturer?
So all Liang is out of actually just outside of Beijing. Company started in 2019, and they're doing all the manufacturing, obviously of the tools and stencils and all of the various new components and items that come out, and then the boxes that they're all housed in are also out of the same place, and all of the design is the really from Yusheng Liang, who's a young guy, very experienced modeler. He's an architect by trade, and Yushen is one of the senior judges for. It's not called IPMS in China, but essentially the same organisation. And so he's the one who got it up and going. He has a VP of international sales, who's the one I deal with, who speaks English, who actually is the mother. Would you believe? So she's happy to see her son doing well. So really, it grew from very, very humble days in 2019 and right up to now where we offer for retailers around about 90 different products.
Now, did you find much friction in and maybe this has changed recently with the new administration and issues regarding tariffs and all that, but as far as just generally doing business with a Chinese manufacturer and becoming their North American distributor, was there much friction in, paperwork to obtain the products, to clear customs, to do all that stuff?
Yeah, so we could talk about it, BT and AT, right?
Right.
Before Trump and after Trump. So just before Trump, there is a thing called the de minimis exemption.
Right.
I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that. Okay, so so the United States is I do a lot of international travel, and the United States is very lucky in that the customs threshold for incoming product is $800, right? And most countries in the range of 100 to 200. So that gives you an idea of how valuable this is. So what happened was through the early part of this year, or prior to the early part of this year, the de minimis exemption was alive and well, and that had no interference with doing any business. So when I place it, when a retailer contacts me and we make sure that everything is good for their order, just like anything else, there's an email sent, there's a verification on the Chinese side that it's received, that all the items are available in stock or in production. And then usually within 24 hours, I get shipping notification, and that will be in the form of, DHL, FedEx, any of the big ones, and with a tracking, and I provide that to the retailer. Up until the early part of this year, would you believe that the turnaround time was about 7 days from Beijing to anywhere in the United States. When they placed an order, it was that quick.
When you were working with a hobby retailer, would you structure the order to try and make sure that it came in under the de minimis exception?
No, not at all. In that case, I haven't had it yet where we've actually exceeded the exemption. What's happened sometimes is that we've had an order, and then a couple of weeks later, they just said, "Oh, we need some more of these." No problem. And of course, with a 1 week delay, it really wasn't a problem. So, I guess more to luck than anything else, we haven't hit the de minimis exemption on any orders. So anyway, that was the way it was through the early part of this year. Then, of course, there was that sort of turbulence that went on in March, and I was sort of getting it from, because two of my other business operations are actually related out of China and Hong Kong, actually. So I was sort of getting information about how that was playing out. I was checking back and forth, of course, with Liang as to what they were hearing, because they were, to a certain extent, just as in the dark as sometimes, we were. But long story short is that probably paused things for about a 10-day, 2-week period. But to me, it didn't matter too much, because just before then there was actually some big orders go out. Everyone had stock, so I didn't see it. In other words, there wasn't a blip for a supply. However, I know from other industries, and certainly in a couple of cases, other modeling retailers, right? They certainly suffered some turbulence as that all settled. But the bottom line now is that by the end of that month, which was March, China had figured out a way to ship the product, certainly my stuff, and with none of the tariffs or any of that stuff coming through in any way, shape, or form. And it's taking now, instead of 7 days, it probably takes 11 to work its way through. I don't know how they resolve that on the Chinese side, but up until the first part of this year, in the industries that I'm familiar with, the Chinese government gave rebates and subsidies back on volumes for shipping, and whether or not the distributor or the seller or the manufacturer took that as an accrual, and they would just, every time they did a production, they were shipping a large quantity internationally, they would take an allowance off that. I don't know. But the bottom line here is that really proud to say that with Liang, since I've been involved in it, there's been no price increases for the retailers, and consequently the recommended retail price guidelines for the retailers is pretty much on them, and everyone has worked really, really well together with it.
You're saying that the only difference between before and what you're experiencing now is about 3 or 4 more days of ship time from China to the U.S.
That's correct. There was a couple of Liang items which are if you look online internationally you can find, and they were just in the process of getting those approved for the United States and for Canada, and those two are pretty straightforward. One of them is they call it the Zimmerit putty, and there's another one. There's actually one called sandbags, which are basically flexible sandbags that you can mold around a shape, right? So you want to put them on the front of a tank or on a building or on a land feature. And there's something about, and I'm not up on my Mandarin for this, but there's something about the chemical makeup of those which has not been approved for the US. Occasionally, certainly I get calls and emails about it, and I tell people what I would do in terms of a substitution. But that was in process, and rather than sort of raise a red flag or anything on that, China just said, oh, well, we're just not going to do it for North America at the moment. So that's really that's been the only interruption. It was that, but I understand, for everybody, right, from modelers right through to retailers. I mean, and suppliers. I mean, the ambiguity that went on through the month of March, from my standpoint, from Liang's standpoint, has essentially been resolved, and it's been really exciting to see, because I can tell to a certain extent when retailers order, like, how things are going. And I mean, it's been just great. So, thumbs up.
Well, my understanding is even established companies, Tamiya apparently had a problem with their white primer in Canada. They must have reformulated it, or they did something that changed the chemical formulation, and it needed to be re-cleared for shipment into Canada, and caused it to disappear in Canada for some short period of time. I think they've cleared that all up. So even old line companies, when it comes to products containing, chemical mixtures, that's a different process than, say, shipping over a pair of tweezers.
Yeah, that's right. There's things on both sides of the fence to have to get worked on. The products, as I said, the product line now is just around about 90 items that are available for Liang. And, on an international level, I can see that, the bestsellers, I can see what's moving, I can see what's not moving. And then it's pretty fascinating, actually, how products hit a market like that, and then there'll be surges of movement. The most popular product that we sell is the Zimmerit tools. I'm not sure if you've seen those, but the Zimmerit tool, yeah, I mean, they come with they come suitable for 72nd, 35th, and I think 48 scale as well. And there's a basic set which has all of the essential tools, and then there's an upgrade set which has more complicated patterns and things like that. Those internationally for Liang are the popular, the number 1 and 2 ranking. But then again, someday someone could be looking for a set of lampposts that they have to have, right? and they'll reach out to me or whatever, and I say, yeah, I know who's got that. Talk to so and so, and they will, last I remember they had some, and we usually find that out, which is really fun to do to help people. I'm an altruist by nature, so I love doing that kind of thing.
Well, you've got a 90-ish product line, and they kind of run from some tools and then these stencils that kind of got them started. One thing that's interesting with Liang is the support side of particularly their website. There's a lot of videos and how-tos on there that I think are interesting. And can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, these tools are, some of them are self-explanatory, some are not. You mentioned the Zimmerit tools, and you can do the kind of the corrugated patterns with those. You can do the waffle patterns with those. Just some really neat things.
What it comes down to is the product line varies between 3 core areas. The most commonly known one is the stencils. They're very popular. There's 12 stencils in the set right now. They're a vinyl stencil. They're flexible. If you use them with acrylics, they'll last much longer. I think we have a video on the website which shows one stencil being reused, I want to say 12 times. And it's in the 12 times, it's scrunched up in a ball and it's laid flat. It shows you how to clean it, how to make it flat again. Then all of those, of course, they can be cut, right? So you can cut for different shapes if you need to, and then put them back on. But stencils are very, very, very much the bread and butter. And I obviously look at lots of other stencils out there as well and different designs, but we've been pretty happy with ours, and certainly the demand for them is right up there. The second thing that is within the product line of the 3 is related to modeling tools, and that's where Yusheng Liang really shines. I mean, his design theories and ideas are very exceptional. There's a couple of new items that have come out in the last few months. One of them's a handle bender, and for those of you that build armor, obviously, getting handles right, certainly at any scale, is difficult. Well, this handle bender will do all of that very, very easily. It's a simple tool to use. There's another one just released called the centered hole driller.
Yeah, that one looks interesting.
Yeah, amazing piece of engineering. And, we talk about trying to get accurate drilling holes on different items. Well, there's the tool for it. But there's some others as well. But the general thing of the tools has been to educate on the use. And what you find on most Liang products is that there is a QR code. And if the person is in the store or they're looking at it, they can simply just, do the QR code check with their phone, and that takes them to the education video and or the instructions of that particular item. And that's proven to be very, very helpful there for obvious reasons. The third line of product is related, more to supporting dioramas and things like that. There's multiple different, goodness knows, there's all kinds of leaf sets. Who knew, right, that we have a summer 1, a summer 2, an autumn 1, and they're all a little bit different, but there's a fantastic video of how to use the leaf stencil set or the leaf set. And I'm not a big diorama builder, but I looked at that and I thought, that's incredible. And so you're right about the education aspect of it. And I think that the way the videos are structured are obviously for an international audience. So we have obviously English ones available, but it's pretty obviously visually what's going on. So again, that's the 3 core areas there. Education is huge and imagination is huge, and that's again where Yusheng is very, very good. So with the latest products, the center hole driller, like I said, and there's another one. It's called a chainsaw tool set. Who makes chainsaws in 1/35th? Nobody, right? But And little things too, which I think are really, really well done, which impressed me from the beginning. For example, there's a laptop set, and there's a dozen laptops, 1/35th scale in the laptop set. But inside the box is also the decals to put the screens on them.
Yeah, I saw
You know,
those.
and that's it's just a great touch, and that's what I think is really, which just I said, impressed me from the beginning with Liang, and the fact that they were willing enough, as they wanted to grow internationally. They knew that they wanted to get up and running in North America, but they needed somebody that had that had probably some experience in business, because it's not just about getting the product in, right? I mean, you have to educate the retailer, you have to educate on cost, shipping, gross margin, net margin, things like that, right? The person that you're supplying, they may have their own criteria for how they go about perhaps managing their website. So whether they wanted a dozen of a particular item behind the scenes, and I think some of them, when you look on their websites, it will show you how many are in stock and things like that. And others do, some others don't do that. But generally, that's what I find really, really helpful. I've got one particular customer who's a retailer in Oklahoma, and he will call and he has questions about the product, which are really, really good questions. And he wants to know that, because when people ask him, he wants to be able to fill that information in. So there's a role there. The online presence is really strong. Thanks for the feedback on the videos. And then obviously having somebody that can be reached, not necessarily 24/7, but pretty close to it, can help retailers right away.
I wanted to ask you about that. The flip side of dealing with Liang is dealing with hobby retailers in North America. How's your experience been? I mean, we all hear that brick and mortar retailers are dying, et cetera, et cetera. What's been your experience in marketing the Liang products to the North American hobby retailers?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. The key thing is that in anything like this, the individual that's the retailer has to have an imagination. They have to an imagination that's realistic. So there are some that I sell to that will tell you their product to their SKU, right, storekeeping unit, the actual UPC, the SKU movement of a particular item, on a 7-day basis, 21-day basis. They know that. They can forecast their ordering. Very, very sophisticated. I've got it, in one particular case, I have access to their back end so I can see what's going on, right, which has been, which is really helpful. So you've got that degree of sophistication within the business in North America. Maybe not every online retailer is doing that, but certainly I know of one that has that level of work going on. And I come from that background professionally, so I get it. I understand. I can usually digest the information fairly easily. And then when you go down to brick and mortar, what I find most commonly is, because I'm making the call, right? I'm calling them up cold and saying, look, I know you've got IPMS clubs there. I'm familiar with the following, etc. And invariably, I would say, 8 times out of 10, 4 times out of 5, the person will say, yeah, I've heard about these. How does it all work, right? And of course, take them through my sort of 60-second pitch of, look, you're gonna do this. You can send it to me. You can text it to me. I'll put it as an order. I just need your thumbs up on it. It's going to come to you 10 or 11 days later, and then go from there. So I think I've been fairly choosy about that. I've kind of, I'll say this, I didn't want to have 2 competitive retail brick and mortar stores in the same city. I wanted one of them to have it, right?
Gotcha.
And so I have my own personal controls on that. So for example, can I say some retailer names?
If you wish.
Okay, so for example, in San Antonio, Hill Country Hobby, there are other hobby stores in that market, but David Schmidt has that. That's San Antonio. That's where Liang is available, right? In Austin, Lionheart Hobby, Rudy actually, who was the first customer, Rudy has all of that patch. In DFW, there's one store called Texas Toy Soldier, which is more of a 3D wargaming store, but it's got a huge 3D aspect to it and all of the typical paints that you see in a hobby store. It's not a model building store, even though they have all of the materials except the model kits. That's the one place in DFW where all the Liang stuff is available because those 3D modelers still use the tools. They're still going to airbrush. They're still going to do all that. So I've kept it kind of like that. I don't ever want to, like Oklahoma City, Black Widow Models, Jim and Connie over there. They have that patch. That's theirs. If there's another hobby store in town, I don't think there is. I'm not going to give that away.
So Liang didn't put any constraints on you as far as that goes. You chose as a marketing choice to say, okay, in each market area, I'm going to try and find one retailer and give them an exclusivity that gives them a little bit of a marketing edge in their modeling area.
Absolutely. That was totally my call. The only criteria that comes out of Liang, and that was actually, this is a good thing, was, I got to see, for example, what MIG's costs are, right, for their products. I got to see what there's a Japanese Japanese distributor. I got to see what their prices were because obviously for the purpose of the business, we have to be somewhat consistent around that. So that was the only criteria for them, and they were very good offering all of that up to me, and I could look at it. And when we agreed on our costings, we were all completely right in line. I mean, all this typical Excel spreadsheets translate in Mandarin for everybody, so that was good. So no, but anything in so there are some online stores, right, that carry Liang. But that's a little bit of a different aspect than the brick and mortar. The brick and mortar is going to be me selecting the city and knowing and trusting the retailer and moving it on from there. The online is a little different because they have a different cycle of product movement, and also too, I think we'd all agree that each of the online retailers have somewhat of a different focus. They're not all the same, right? And how they go about their business. So there's several onlines that I work with, but all of those, in fact, what is there? There's 4 or 5, and each one of those is in a different geographic region. It's they don't overlap with each other. At least I understand the notion of postage, but generally, there's an intention there that they're all going to support each other on similar pricing that at least they get from me. And at the same time, it helps the product movement because one person will take a big delivery. I support all of the products by online marketing. So, when there is a big delivery come in at Burbank's House of Hobbies, I go online with that. But I do the same thing for a Coastline Hobbies in North Carolina or Kitlinks or Michigan Toy Soldier. I do the same thing for them as well. So there's a two-way street there of like, I'm going to support you no matter what. It's up to you to sell the product. Yeah, so that's part of the life of being a distributor, right?
Are you doing any presentations of Liang products like at either model contests, model shows, or at the more high-level hobby business conventions?
Again, another good point. So I do presentations in markets. Obviously, I've done DFW because I'm here. I've done Las Vegas as well, which was very good. We have 2 retailers, brick and mortar, in Las Vegas. One is in Las Vegas itself. It's Hobby Island, just off the strip. And the other one it's called Hobby One Japan. It's over in Henderson, probably 15 miles away from, a different city completely. And that's primarily Gundam anime type kit store, but the lady there has everything. So she likes Liang. Their modelers use it. So the IPMS club in Las Vegas covers all of the Las Vegas Valley. I'll do one presentation there. I'll tell them, that both of the stores have it, and they choose from that. So I really enjoy doing the presentations. I usually bring a demo box as well, and occasionally give a few samples out too. Got to be careful, don't give too many samples away.
That's right.
Especially when they're reusable.
That's right.
And then at the same time, I'll travel as well. Like there's a wonderful little chapter in East Texas, IPMS in Tyler. Went out there one Saturday, had a great time with those guys. And, and they don't really have anything local in terms of brick and mortar. So it truly is education. And to see people, lining up with that is pretty good. I've got another friend who's a very proficient airbrush user, and we did an airbrush demo at Texas Toy Soldier using just stencils to show the 3D wargamers what could be done. I mean, that was that. There was no stencils left in the store by the end of the night. So I usually have to tell the retailer beforehand, the local retailer, say, listen, we're going to be doing a demo. Just make sure
you have the product.
Help yourself, Then I have to be careful what I show as well.
Well, it sounds like you're having fun doing this, which is great, because I mean, when you get into business in your hobby, a lot of times it can take the joy out of the hobby. But you sound like you're really having a lot of fun with this.
Absolutely. It's fun to speak to something when you're a bit of a subject matter expert in some ways, right? I mean, I've been modelling my whole life, so I get it. I understand how this is going to work. I understand enamel, acrylic, and lacquer. I get all that. You were asking about demos. The one thing I have not done, and this is only through my lack of time, is I really wanted to get to either an Amps or a Chicago Toy Soldier or something like that, and do something there for a room. But the trade-off for that is I have to have a retailer who's at the event who has the product, right? So there's a bit of a hands up to any retailers listening that please reach out.
Next year, Amps is in South Bend, Indiana, and the MMSI show is in, I think, October in Chicago. So those are both ones that I can highly recommend.
I've got to find out at Michigan Toy Soldier, and I know you guys stopped by there and were fairly, shall we say, distracted and delayed while you were there.
They got a lot of my money.
Yeah, I get it. That's I know that he goes to all of those shows, so it's just a case of coordinating it. But I still remember, back the very first time when the demo box arrived from China, and I'm looking at everything, going, okay, I've got to get familiar with this. I need to understand it, and then literally calling up a retailer and saying, oh look, here's what I do, here's what I sell. And in today's environment, cold calling via a telephone, most people are pretty capable of using their phone and blocking a caller and all that stuff, right? So I had to be a little bit careful of that, but also being able to talk the language and also learning from the retailers as well as to how their business cycle works has been very, very, really, humbling at times as well. So. But yeah, you're right. Definitely enjoying it, and really excited by there's a new product list for 2025 which is about to make its way out. I mean, there's all sorts of things like that. But to have people send me an email and say, hey, I need to know where I can get the following. Yep, and absolutely, and be able to say, listen, here's our retail list, here's our online list. Please reach out. No problem. And if I get specific requests, had this recently for a particular component, and I just knew that, for example, in that case it was Coastline Hobbies. I knew that Coastline Hobbies had that product coming in within 24 hours, so I can quickly message them and say, hey, by the way, I think you've sold that beforehand, and that's part of being a supportive distributor, right?
Well, in conclusion tonight, Adam, can segue from what you just said a second ago. about how to get in contact with you and how a prospective retailer can find out more about Liang and how all that comes together?
So Liang Model USA is the Facebook page, and Liang. There's a Liang Model, which is China. There's Liang Model USA, which is myself. Obviously, I can be messaged off the Facebook page, and then my email is also on that, which is liangmodelusa@gmail.com. I think my phone number's even on there if people want to reach out. I don't mind. Happy to help. I really want to support modelers and, make sure that they've at least have an awareness of what's out there and what's available. And certainly Yusheng Liang's desire is that his personal love of the hobby is given out in education and guidance and things like that. And this is where much of the design thought comes into the actual, the advertising and marketing. We've got one just to give you a little highlight. We have one coming out, which is actually for a T55 tank. Now, out of the blue, Yusheng will do this, but he's put together a set of weathered wheels for a T55 tank in 1/35 scale, and I got the demo of it. I mean, and they're just beautiful. I mean, they're really good, and they're the ones where the rubber rim is all chopped up, but it's done right. And so I'd rather see that certainly the products, and whether the center hole driller or the miter cutter, which just came out, which was just flying off the shelves everywhere, those things are really well researched and functional, and it's better that they come to market as a quality product than just be something which is out there and has a limited use. So that makes me excited and in for the long haul. And yeah, I can't say enough about the excitement that brings.
Well, Adam, thanks for joining us tonight, and we're glad to help you promote Liang, and look forward to what you got going in the future, and look forward to the next time we see you, man. It's been a while.
No worries. Well, my hobby circuit this year took me to Moshon again in April for my third Moshon, and then Tankfest back in last month, June, right? So I've been traveling a fair bit in that kind of spectrum as well. Thought I'd drop the Moshon thing because that's pretty amazing in itself. But
Evan was there this year.
I heard that, yeah. So having been a veteran, right, of 3 Moshons now, like I come prepared, Dave. I bring empty boxes with me. I have a sanity shopping list that I try to abide by. Everything.
Well, next year the IPMS National is up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's up in our neighborhood. You need to come up to Fort Wayne next year.
No worries. Thanks for the invite. I'll probably make it.
If you stop in Louisville, I'll buy you a bourbon.
Actually, a Diet Coke on ice.
Okay, a Diet Coke on ice.
I'm cheap to feed and low maintenance, really.
Well, Adam, thanks again, and we'll be talking to you real soon, I'm sure.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Always fun to talk to Adam Coleman.
Yes, and it never ceases to amaze me, the stories that you hear where some modeler ends up getting involved in the business side of the hobby, and every time that happens, each story is unique, and each story is different, and each story is really interesting in and of its own. And so I can't wait to see what happens with Liang as they go down the road together.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to pick up, so maybe I need to talk to Adam about that.
Yes, definitely.
Well, folks, next we're going to pivot over to a show that's going to be happening in the latter part of next month in August in Huntsville, Alabama. Well, Dave, we're mixing it up with this spotlight. We had Adam Coleman on for Liang Models, and now we're going to pivot over to an upcoming model show that's going to come a few weeks after the National Convention. Direct from the Rocket City of Huntsville, Alabama is Mr. Tom Clark. Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing tonight?
Really good. We're
Doing
getting all
good.
excited. We got a green light for the national convention and started gathering my wares and
Mike's
looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Mike's
I
ready
do.
to hop out of his skin. He's like a teenager. I will tell you, Tom, that Huntsville's one of my favorite shows. Now, I have not been in a number of years.
I've noticed.
I thank you. Simply due to logistics and stuff like that. But I have such fond memories of Huntsville. And I met the president of Badger's son down there one time because we had adjoining vending tables. It was awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Well, just let us next time you guys come down, let us know. We'll hook you up.
We will.
I can't wait. I will try, and I can't promise this year, but I will try.
Awesome.
Tom, let's get into meat and potatoes of this. Why don't you tell us about the host chapter and the date and location and all that for your show?
All right. Sure thing. Host chapter is the Huntsville Plastic Model Society. I know, a real original name for for the club. We've been active since about 1973. Matter of fact, we've got a couple of the original members still kicking around, telling us we're all doing everything wrong. So you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Sounds
this
familiar.
is by our count, this is our 48th show.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
A long runner.
Yeah, it has been. The only break we had was COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and everybody else.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So 48th show, just build it, in the motto, August 23rd, which is the Saturday. 1-day show, doors open at 9. We go from 9 to 5. Judging starts at 1. For vendors, we do open the doors at 8 o'clock so everyone can kind of get in and get things settled up and, get everything squared away. And then, like I said, registration starts at 9.
Now, what's the location you're in?
It is the Huntsville JC's building.
Okay, the same building it's been in forever, right?
Forever, yes.
Okay. One of my favorite little buildings by the show venues, by the way. It's awesome.
It's done us real well over the years. It's about 12,000 square feet. We typically split up kind of 50-50. Half of it's vendors, half of it's the show. We don't close our model room during judging. We just ask people, hey, give the judges space.
Yeah.
Don't hang around, please. Give them, let them talk about things. And that's worked pretty well for us for the last several years. I'll give you guys the URL to where we can find the contest flyers and stuff like this later, but the address is 2200 JC's Way in Huntsville. But yeah, we've been there for many years, and we've got the current layout just, down pat, and we can knock out setup pretty quick.
It's so easy for the vendors to move in and out of your building.
Yeah, we've got one big roll-up door at one end, a couple of personnel doors along the back side of the building. So yeah, it's a pretty good facility for a show about our size.
Yeah.
Always love to have a little bit bigger, but kind of the price increases kind of exponentially around here.
Sure.
Yeah, that's gotten to be a problem in a lot of places.
Yes.
Well, generally, just give us a little bit of the details about the show proper, other than what you've already covered about the who, the where, and the when. But
Okay.
Like registration protocols, just general show details.
Sure thing. It's pretty much your bog standard IPMS show. We've got the aircraft, armor, auto, miscellaneous, and junior categories set up. Most of them are self-explanatory. The registration, we don't have we'd love to go to online registration, but we don't have that yet. But so essentially when you show up, there's two types of forms you have to do. One is just a general entry form that says, hey, this is my personal information, and these are all the models I'm entering. And you fill that out, and then for each model you enter, you have a sheet that says, okay, this is the model, this is what I've done. The forms are available to fill out online, but we don't have an online registration yet.
Got you. So you can go to your website,
Yeah.
download them, print them out, have them pre-filled out so that registration runs more smoothly.
Yes.
Now, generally, from an entry standpoint, the models on the table, about what size show are you talking about?
We typically see about 350
Okay. Well, that's not
350 to
terrible. That's pretty
400.
good.
I
Yeah.
think at one of our anniversary shows, I think we got to like 520,
Okay.
but that's been a
Wow.
while. Yeah.
For a one dayer, that would be a lofty number to hit, especially in well, your region, our region.
One of the nice things, if you go down to your show, is that the contest is not very far away from the Space and Rocket Center. If you've got family, come down. You can run over there and do a couple of hours at the Space and Rocket Center, which is just a heck of an attraction. For those who've never been, it's definitely worth seeing, no matter what your level of interest in space is.
If you haven't been there it's been up for a while, but if it hasn't been a while since you haven't been there, they've added what I call the world's largest display case, which is the Davidson Center, with the entire Saturn V on its side inside, which is
They put it inside now.
So we've got the replica Saturn V vertical, and then they have another one built up from like test articles on its side, and it's all kind of semi dissected, so you can see all the staging and everything like this inside. So that's why I call it the world's largest display case.
I saw it a couple of years ago when I was down in Huntsville visiting some friends who moved down there a few years ago, and to see that thing laid out on its side, split in sections, is it's big to understate it. It's pretty big.
Yeah, the Rocket Center is about, I'm just going to spitball it, 10 minutes down the road from the venue.
Now, you all don't have on-site food, but you've got a lot of food very nearby.
Well, we actually have changed that up in the last year.
Oh, did we bring food trucks or what?
Yes, we do. We have, last year we had Fast Frankie's Wicked Eats, who wins just from having like the most awesome food truck name available out there. Everyone loved their food. Matter of fact, Frankie basically said he sold out.
Great.
So he basically said, yeah, I'll be back there next year, excuse me. Matter of fact, this year he was like, hey, I got a friend who's got another food truck. We're like, yeah, well, what is it? Well, they do milkshakes. Do you mind if he comes? And we're like, why not?
Wait a minute. Modelers and milkshakes, those don't go together.
No, I know.
We're known as a healthy group of individuals. People were worried about our physique. And so, milkshakes just wouldn't be something that modelers would be interested in.
Well, we're going to make milkshakes mandatory for everybody in the judging party, just so they have that energy to push through.
There you go.
There you go.
For the
now I want to go get a milkshake. Yeah,
and milkshakes in August in Huntsville probably be pretty darn satisfying.
I mean, yeah. So to your point too, if you don't want to do the food trucks, you're right. You go out to the main drive that our JC's Way comes off of. You hang a left, and that takes you into the Airport Road shopping district, and there's everything from Jimmy John's up to sit-down restaurants. Anything you pretty much can want is right there. So you can find it right there. It's actually something that just kind of opened up the last few years, and you can actually see it if you go out the front door, is Back 40 Brew Pub, which is a just ginormous place they have.
Oh, man.
So we're probably going to have last year we did a post-show debrief and unwind there. So may do that again this year.
Hey, Mike, that sounds like our kind of place.
Milkshakes and brew pubs.
Yeah, that's right.
Big rockets. Yeah.
Rockets. There you go.
It sounds like a good one, man.
Yeah.
Well, folks who want to shop at the show, what's your vendor landscape looking like?
Okay. We have got 62 tables of vendors, or 4 tables. We've got 29 parties renting them out so far. So we've been sold out for a couple of months.
Okay.
Which is always good. I think we did have one. We did have some cancellation. One of the vendors basically had to back out because of medical reasons.
Sure.
But we're sold out. That always happens. Names, we've got Vulcan Hobbies from Birmingham. The guys do the Gundam models.
Yeah.
We're going to be there. Custom Dioramics there. His and Her Hobbies. It's we got a pretty good mix of people coming in.
I always found plenty to buy at the vendors in Huntsville.
That's good. Did want to bring up one thing that we've done. We have modified some of our categories.
Okay, yeah, please mention that.
So one thing, we've added a large scale armor category.
Yeah.
25th and larger. So we got that. We kind of took a cue from the IPMS issue they had a couple months back, talking about, how to do we had a Gundam / big freaking robot category. And this time we decided to do a little bit different. We actually kind of split into 3 subcategories.
Gundam's getting much more popular these days.
Oh, it is. There's been several Gundam clubs spin up in Huntsville. So we've got a basic 8 inches and below, and basic being just out of the box, maybe basic paint or even just unpainted. And then so it's 8 inches and below and 8 inches and taller, which kind of gives you the break between, typically in Gundam, they call it, the Bandai kits called high grade versus master grade.
Right.
Which we're there's other companies that make kits that don't fall into that categorization necessarily. So we kind of pick size.
Okay.
This kind of a break point. So 8 inches and below, you're in this category. More than 8 inches, you're over here. We also have a master, which is basically if you're doing advanced painting and modifications and detailing and all these other things, that's where you go regardless of what your size is.
Interesting. Yeah, it's been interesting to watch this evolve in the IPMS show. So I'll be real curious at the end of your show how that pans out and how it was received.
I assume that this is in response to the fact that you're seeing more and more Gundam entries every year.
Yes.
Enough now to justify multiple subcategories.
Yes, we typically had to do a couple of splits with that. So we're going to give it a go. The other thing I think we did is just kind of to fine-tune things. We're always going to be trying to fine-tune our categories. We split the historical and fantasy figures apart.
Okay.
So just kind of, I really wanted to get into, we've really been talking hey, do we want to start adding in wargaming figures as a separate category and stuff like this? But we're looking, it's we're adding kind of a lot of changes to the miscellaneous category. Let's just keep that kind of where we are right now. So we did those changes, added the 3 big freaking robots and the split between historical and fantasy. So we'll see how it plays out.
Sure. You mentioned that the entry forms were downloadable, but I guess we didn't say where we download them from. So what's your website?
I'm glad you asked that. To keep things simple, I've set up a tinyurl link to the contest page. So that's tinyurl.com/HPMS contest. I'll send you the URL for you guys to put in the show notes.
And sure. And also do a post on the dojo where you post that link and a copy of your flyer.
I will do it.
Thank you.
We're on Facebook at Facebook as Huntsville Plastic Modelers.
Yeah, that'll be easy to find.
So there.
Well, is there anything unique with the Huntsville show, or you got a theme, or is there any special awards?
Not this year.
Anything like that? Okay.
No, not this year. We're just using our theme of just build it.
Okay.
It's kind of become the unofficial motto of the club. So, well, I don't have all the things, but no, just build it.
That is a good motto. Something we all ought to observe.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like you buy a new kit and it's like Pokemon. I got to get every accessory kit.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like,
Our last episode, we had a conversation with Bob Bear, the voice of Bob. And the conversation, one of the areas we talked about was aftermarket and the feeling like in order to build any kit, you have to go out and acquire every piece of aftermarket ever made.
And got to catch them all.
Yeah, and how that ends up to the detriment of your modeling sometimes.
Yes, I can fully see that, and having just recently experienced that with the Magic Factory A4.
Oh.
I mean, I just saw it. I'm not really an aircraft guy, but I saw that. Actually, I saw that at the Squadron shop when we went up to Chattanooga last month. Yeah, and
he'll get you.
Oh, Brandon. Oh,
Brandon gave you the hard sell, man.
Oh man, yeah. No,
the hard sell being here. The door's open. Go in.
Come on in.
Yeah, and it's of course it's the Skyhawk. Always loved the Skyhawk. Just an absolutely beautiful little bird, and this is the one that's in the black and white test and evaluation scheme.
Yeah,
which is just that looks cool. But anyway, I found myself doing exactly that. But that's enough of that. But getting into that kind of segue. So we actually do have a pretty good raffle going on this year. Mike has been out beating up people online to get good packages. We're actually implementing we're going to have a baseline raffle, and then we're going to have some stuff in the special raffle.
Gotcha.
So, the special stuff is like $1 a ticket, and you give us $5, we'll give you 6 tickets. And the special is $5, and for $25 you get 6 tickets.
Don't we do that, Dave?
Yes.
We have a high-end.
We have done that on a number of occasions. We'll have 20 or 30 high-end items, airbrushes, compressors, really expensive new kits, the latest 16th scale monster or whatever armor kit. And then our club will do that. We'll have the regular raffle, $1 a ticket, and then the special raffle where it's $5 a ticket. So that's becoming very common, I think.
Yeah, I was up at your show in Louisville about 2 years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I am really envious of y'all's raffle management system.
Well, if you need it, talk to me offline. We may be able to arrange that.
Awesome.
Well, if there's nothing else to cover, let's get the who, when, and where again, and
okay.
Make sure folks can come patronize your show.
Awesome. So it's Huntsville Plastic Model Society, Huntsville, Alabama, our 48th show. Just build it, August 23rd from 9 to 5. Judging starts at 1, so get your model entered before then. Judging forms are available online, and we hope to see you there.
Perfect.
Well, Tom, thanks for joining us. And again, we wish you all success, and we really love the opportunity to help clubs like yours promote their shows, because they're just a lot of fun. They're kind of the backbone of this hobby, we think, anyway.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Hope we get to do this again sometime.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and we'll see you in Hampton, Virginia as well.
Yes, we
will. All right, guys.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
I'll try.
Well, always good to talk to Tom. We see him quite a bit around the show circuit. And man, I wish we could get down there for that one. We're not going to commit to that one, unfortunately. But, I got friends down there and the wife's wanting to go visit.
Yeah.
So
maybe
we'll see.
Maybe
we'll see.
I love that show. Unreserved. I have such fond memories. I've got a half dozen stories from different things that have happened in and around the Huntsville show. And I really like it. If you've not been, guys, please make the effort to go. You will not regret it. I will personally guarantee that.
Well, folks, check out Liang Models. The URL's in the show notes, and make plans later next month to get down to Huntsville if you're in the vicinity. And until then, Dave, so many kits.
So little time. Let's get packed.